die, but it can certainly be stifled, sometimes indefinitely. So I want you just to think about yourselves, or maybe somebody you know, and think about, did you ever have a creative aspiration? Maybe it was to be a dancer or an artist, or maybe it was in sports, or maybe it was in academics. Something where you were kind of plugging along, making progress, and then in one instance, somebody said something to you. It could have been a parent, a coach, a teacher, a trusted friend, and you hung up the dance shoes and never danced again. You put down the pen. Has anyone ever experienced that? Just right, so you don't have to tell the stories. So does anybody know anybody that's happened to? Okay? Probably many of you, right? It's a very common thing. For the person giving the feedback, it could be a throwaway comment, right? And it's understandable. As a teacher, we get asked all these questions. We might say, okay, you're no Shakespeare. Let's just move on to the next thing. But for that kid, that could be it, right? Again, it doesn't kill the creativity, but that kid feels, what happens in those moments is you feel intense shame, and you feel like you can't get any better, so there's no use in even trying. When I've studied this and explored this with people, somebody who wanted to be a gymnast was once told by her coach that her torso was too small. I mean, what can you do about that? You can't do anything, you might as well give up being a gymnast, right? Some people are motivated, and they say, I'm going to prove this person wrong. What's the difference? The difference is in a belief that you can get better. So I think it's important when we're giving feedback, when we're saying don't be harsh, we're saying you still have to be honest, right? The kid might need to do a lot of work to get better, but we want to communicate the message, this is where you are, you can get better by doing this. We don't want to just do the throwaway thing and say, this isn't for you, and end it there, because that can stifle creativity. I think that's pretty intuitive. The thing that we sometimes forget about is the opposite end of this, the too soft feedback.
It's hard to be critical. It's not fun destroying people's dreams, and having destroyed many people's dreams over the last 10 years, it's not fun. And yet, we have this danger that overpraise or just avoiding really, this was really interesting, I really enjoyed it. No, keep going, because we don't want to be the bad guy. It's where it leads to, how many of you watched or watch American Idol? You get, and I've now referenced it twice, which is embarrassing, but you get these people, and some are great, some are fine, but there are others who people have been telling them their whole lives that they're a great singer. And
rainbows and unicorns.
Rainbows and unicorns. Unicorns that vomit out rainbows. It's hard to be mean. It's hard to give honest feedback, and particularly if we're afraid of being the overly harsh person. But the danger then is that you give people, in essence, no way to rise up, and they keep going, and all of a sudden, they're going to hit a time when they're going to get professional level feedback. And you've seen those American Idol contestants who go on and they're terrible. And you have Simon Cowell, or who's ever on now, say something that's just lacing and biting, and you can see, with the exception of the handful of people who are a little nuts, but you can see everything just fall. He's like, or in the Simpsons, that idea where fast forwarding the moment when Ralph Wiggum's heart was broken, and you can just see.
And that's equally as devastating as that kind of creative mortification, right? What's happening there is they have mini-C level of accomplishment, right? They believe that they're this, and they're getting pro-C level feedback. That is incredibly devastating, right? And it's a disservice to either be too harsh or too soft. So when we're talking about this just right feedback, it's about being honest, but kind of hopeful, right? So saying, here's what you need to do to get better. And it's not promising anything. It's not going to say you're going to be the next American Idol. But if you want to get better with your singing, this is what you need to do. If you want to get better with your writing, you really have to work on your grammar, whatever it is, right? And so I think it's about honest and improvement-oriented feedback. So it's not saying you can't get better. You can get better. But this is what it's going to take.
I don't know, have any of you seen the movie All That Jazz, about the life of Bob Fosse? There's a scene where he's been giving too harsh feedback on a dancer, and finally she is ready to quit the show, and he says, I can't make you a great dancer. I can't make you a good dancer. I can make you a better dancer. Then his character dies, but that's not the point.
So I think, yeah, that's the thing for us, is just remember to give the improvement. Here's how you can get better. Here's where you are. Honest feedback, okay? This is one of our favorite cartoons, this great little strip, where this is the wrong way or right way to handle unexpected response. So, they're talking about lift and so on, and one student says, but what happens why can planes fly upside down if there's lift and everything happening, and you don't know how to respond? The right way would be, wow, good question, maybe this picture is simplified or wrong, we should learn more. Wrong would be, it's complicated, we need to move on. Wrong but common. Very wrong is Santa Claus is your parent, something like that. So, I mean, in those moments, again, it's about how do we deal with those moments? Can we show our own vulnerability? I mean, the beautiful thing about being a teacher is you're an expert learner as well. And so, when you don't know something, one of the best gifts you can give to your students is to show them how you know something. Which might be, let's go to Google and look it up, or whatever it is, right? But I think what you want to do is, how do you learn when you don't know something? We don't want to pretend like we know something, and if they find out we don't know something, it all comes crumbling down. We want to explore a little bit with them. So again, explore first and demonstrate how we ourselves learn. Okay, so what is just right feedback? Let's go back to this example. All right, what would you do in this case? What would you do with Bruce, for example? Any thoughts? Fighting is bad.
Maybe ask him to expand his thought process. Can you give me some examples? What do you mean?
Okay, so yeah, that's a good example. So again, just exploring that with Bruce a little bit. What about Kelly? Doctors should have neater handwriting.
When kids give me really off-the-wall stuff, I ask them, what about this story made you think of that? And sometimes it actually connects.
Yeah, so maybe saying, again, making the task really clear to them. What about this story made you think that or say that, right? And sometimes a kid might not even, you might make that connection. So if Kelly, what about the story makes you think that?
And do you want me to answer it with the way we're going to do it, or
Different.
in a negative way?
Yeah.
Sometimes it might just be, I was just thinking about doctors, I guess. And sometimes you can winnow it out. Because sometimes you'll get people who weren't paying attention to the first thing on their head, of course.
Okay, so we'll do this really cheesy little role play. Recalling that creativity is the combination of originality and task appropriateness. Here's we go. So this is Bruce. He says fighting is bad. I say, I can see how that relates, Bruce, to Romeo and Juliet, but can you tell me how it relates to you personally?
Well,
Right?
my girlfriend and I fought too much, then we broke up.
Can you tell me some more about that?
I guess in both cases, fighting made it hard for love to happen.
Can you think how it might be applied in some way, maybe even at school?
Oh, I like Mercutio. He was funny, and he tried to get the people who were fighting to think about it.
That's great, go on.
So, okay, I know we have a school advice newspaper, a school newspaper. There could be an advice columnist, like Dear Abby, who I wouldn't know because she's dead 10 years. Maybe Dear Mercutio. He could give advice to students who are having problems in their relationships, but in a funny way. And then we'd kill him.
Exactly. So again, what you see here with somebody like Bruce who provides the right answer is to push them a little bit further. Can you take this further? Can you connect this to your life? Can you elaborate on it, right? And I think that's where we want to go with a student like Bruce, is to really challenge them. And I think one of the ways to do this is let your students know that when you give me an answer I'm expecting, you can expect me to push you a little bit further. So if you solve this math problem using one process that I modeled, great. Show me another way to do it, right? Just an extra little push. Okay? So what about original but not appropriate?
Doctors should have neater handwriting.
Can you unpack this a little bit? Where did you get that idea from?
Well, a doctor had messy handwriting, and the pharmacist misread it and gave my mom the wrong medicine, and she got real sick. And
I'm sorry to hear that. Can you bring it back to Romeo and Juliet's?
well, the apothecary gave them poison, but that's a responsibility, and doctors have a responsibility when they do that, that they can hurt people, because a doctor can give you medicine, and if the medicine isn't the right
Going
medicine.
with this. So sometimes you need to intervene a little bit, right? This is one of my favorite techniques, is to stop somebody. If they're really rambling, I'm going to stop you just for a second. Can other people talk about what, do you agree with what? You can do that kind of move, right? But we're going, okay, I'm starting to see where you're going. Can you bring it back to the story?
Well,